Now, Victoria will spend nearly $41 billion over 4 years to create local jobs. A major part of the package is the Local Jobs First policy, which will help employers compete for government contracts. The aim is to create tens of thousands of new positions, especially for apprentices, trainees and cadets. And joining me live now is Apprenticeship Employment Network CEO Gary Workman. Gary, good to see you. We've seen the Victoria budget incentive. We've also seen this a big drive from the federal government, but there's a skills shortage pipeline. So is there a bit of a valley of death, if you like, over the next couple of years?
Good morning, Laura. Look, I certainly think there are. Australians have relied on skilled migration for a number of years now to get our skills needs in a lot of these apprenticeship areas. We'd like to see the government provide more support apart from just wage subsidies to try and support employers out there to take on the right young person, provide the right match and the wraparound support that they need so they can actually get through the 4-year commitment that it takes in a lot of apprenticeships.
Where are the biggest problems?
A lot of the traditional trades, a lot of young people go through university pathways, but plumbers, electricians, carpenters, engineering, manufacturing, all of those areas are seeing skill shortages already.
Are we seeing the same? Obviously, we know about the inability to attract people to the aged care workforce, childcare. Those are kind of, non-traditional areas where we're seeing those gaps as well.
That's right. I think the Commonwealth's boosting apprenticeship wage subsidies will help in a lot of these areas. And they're not just for the traditional trades, but also other skill shortage areas like childcare and aged care for traineeships. Those wage subsidies, I think, will stimulate a lot of employers to come back to the system. But what we'd like to see is, additional support for a lot of those employers. They may not have taken on an apprentice for a long time. And again, young people come with a lot of issues and things that they need to work through as well. So in a lot of cases, it's their first job. So we'd like to see some additional support to provide, the young person some more confidence and also the employer to support them through the 4 years.
So you're talking about more mentoring in a job. Sometimes when you take on a new role, an apprenticeship, you're a cadet, the people above you are a bit too busy and doing their job to be able to mentor you through it. So is there a role there for government?
I think there is, and group training companies have been doing this for 30 years. At a federal level, unfortunately, group training companies don't get funded across the country. At a state level, we get really good support in Victoria. But the environments are fairly complex. You've got expectations from a young person, and it's really their first entry into the world of work. And you've got employers who have sometimes a very different set of expectations, and they're busy trying to get through the work that they have on a day-to-day basis. So having someone in that intermediary role, trying to bring those expectations from both sides a little bit closer together, and also just providing that other support that they may need, whether it's, payroll support or OH&S support, just trying to bring both parties together so we get more completions in the end.
Indeed. Now, at the start of the pandemic, visa holders were essentially told to go home. Has that created bigger problems for business?
It has. And again, some businesses are a little bit slower to go back and fully operate in a pre-COVID world. So hospitality, tourism, automotive repair shops, those things in some places are a little bit slower to return to a normal workplace. And we've also got the additional issues where, some areas may shut down for certain periods of time. So employers are probably less confident in this environment. And again, I think that's where the wage subsidies have been a really good first step. But how do we actually make the most of that money that's been invested in that area? And how do we get more young people through to completion? Before COVID, we only were getting somewhere between 50 to 60% of young people through to a successful completion of their apprenticeship.
Well, Gary, we've seen this big focus on young people, and looking at the youth unemployment rate, we know why that emphasis is there. But what about older Australians and the support for older Australians and reskilling and getting back into the workforce or staying there?
There's certainly other issues and ways that the government really need to start to focus about how we're going to meet all of our skill shortages across the economy over the next few years. Lifelong learning, people reskilling into other areas. Again, I think a lot of the state and federal budgets recently have sort of showed some initiative in that area, and they've provided free training courses for people. But again, a lot of people may not have been in training for a long period of time. They may be a little bit anxious about going back into training before they can get another job. So we think an apprenticeship or traineeship is a really good model to integrate both training and workplace, I guess, giving someone a job at the same time. So, they're available for older people, but that's an additional barrier for employers because they cost more money to go through that pathway.